And this next question, we're just gonna go back and forth on who's first here. Jasmine, you're gonna answer this one first. What's the most common concern you've heard from the Oklahoma teachers, parents, and students that you've met along the campaign trail, and how do you plan to address this at the federal level?
So a common thing that I hear from teachers, because I'll address each of the three. So the teachers, they're the lack of resources. They don't have the resources to put in their classrooms, so they are looking for the resources and having to pay for those out of pocket. So with that being said, I want to address that on the federal level by re-implementing the Department of Education and actually stacking that with actual former teachers and former school superintendents who actually have firsthand knowledge of what a school system should work for. There's no reason that we in Oklahoma, our education system should be at 50th in education. We should absolutely be putting our funding and resources into our kids. We have a literacy rate right now that is well below the normal average that we've had in the last 20 years. It's time that we start implementing curriculums that are consistent across the board, across the nation. So that's what I want to do when it comes to the federal level. I want to make sure that our Department of Education is addressed and funded, but also when I hear from parents, I want to make sure that they want their kids fed. I want to make sure that kids are eating at school 2 times a day, because a kid cannot be effective if, and I mean if, they are hungry. So I want to make sure that we can feed our children. And that's across the nation, and supporting any legislation that may be brought up that within our governmental sector. And I'm going to, and then with our students, I'm hearing about student loans, making sure that we have resources where we can expand college education, especially into our rural areas. Thank you.
Well, I think if we took a survey of everyone here and asked who were some of the most influential people in your life, most of you would say a teacher. That was true for me. My parents were very influential, but teachers were influential because they were with me several hours a day, investing in my life. And as a United States Senator, the United States Department of Education needs to be restored. Currently, it's in shambles. It's headed up by a lady who used to head up the Worldwide Wrestling Foundation. Well, that'll tell you right there, that's not a good selection. And the Senate has the ability to approve and confirm or to disapprove and reject presidential secretary appointees. Well, that would be the first order of business. We need to bring her in and make sure we're holding her accountable, that she's being transparent for the things that are going on behind the scenes. And there's a lot of things going on behind the scenes in state and local and federal government. The curtain needs to be pulled back. For example, the Civil Rights Division of the United States Department of Education has been dismantled and farmed out where they office in a different agency altogether. Same thing for the special needs educators and people that check on schools' compliance with special needs statutes. What they're doing is what an old friend of mine used to do when we went up in Colorado for a week. He was just whittling. And he'd start with a pretty big stick and he'd get it down to bare nub. That's what's happening to the Department of Education. They're whittling it down to a bare nub, and they are not showing their priority in their pocketbook at the federal level. You know, if you look at your credit card bill or your checkbook, you can tell what your priorities are by looking at the way you spend money. And as we look at the way the United States government is spending money, they are not prioritizing education, nor is the state government doing that. And we need to put our money where our mouth is. We say children are our greatest resource, but we're not treating schools like that. So full funding, respect for teachers, and strengthening the federal Department of Education.